Yeah, we're in here. Welcome to another episode of the Larry Ohh Show. We got my co-host with me again,
John Phelps, in the building, ladies and gentlemen, with the Larry Ohh host himself, Larry Ohh. I'm still working on my coffee. That's why the intro was a little...
And we have an early episode again
That's
today,
right.
too. So
we locking in nice and early.
Yeah.
If you want to win early, you got to start early.
Yeah. Facts.
That's my lifestyle grind set.
Yep. So thank you so much for joining us again. If you haven't already, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We're doing a giveaway every single week. The way you enter that giveaway, you hear the keyword, listen to the keyword or the key phrase, you drop it down in the comment section below. Somewhere in this episode, we'll be doing that, as well as announcing the winners, or maybe not exactly. I think we're gonna have to pin the winners. So after this episode, check the pin comment to see if you're the winner from last week. So what are you gonna win? You're gonna win every single one of my FL Studio courses, my whole entire catalog of courses.
Bow.
That being said, I mean, we just hop right into this.
Yeah. What's going on? What's new?
Not much.
Yeah. Cruising. Working on some stuff.
Yeah.
I had like a little bit of a my buddy, I was talking to him about a project that I just released, and he was like, yo, it sounded good. It sounded like, was there any sort of like things that you picked up when doing it? And I told him about this technique. I'm not even sure like where I kind of picked up on this, but it was I found it to be a really efficient way of like, if you ever feel like something's a little too rigid or mechanical feeling, namely something that you've recorded, he called it like reverse quantizing, which I thought was like a really cool way of like referring to it, where if something's almost like too gridded feeling, you can shift it a little bit off to the right. And how I was doing this was like kind of like, I don't know if you know this, but like the more you zoom in, the more like the alt kind of like, or the less it like comes on and off the grid. So the further out you are, the more of a hop it makes. Yeah. Whereas if you get really up in there and hold alt and, shift right or left, it'll kind of like move incrementally. Yep. And what I found was like, if you just want to make something feel more relaxed, you can use this tool to make it feel more natural and flowing. And I used it on a few vocal takes where like it felt a little too rigid. Just this alt and then, little...
So you're saying just like hold the alt key, because that disengages the snap. Whatever snap you have on, that's my favorite thing to do, because who the hell wants to keep going up to the magnet tool and keep switching that? Like right now it's on main, but like, a lot of times we're going back and forth between a quarter or a half, depending on what you want your grid to be. Right. Half step if you want them really like crazy tight hi-hat rolls. But yeah, holding the alt key disengages whatever you have in that snap. And then you can, like you said, just nudge it off the grid a little bit. Boom. But zoom in.
And what I'll do is I'll like,
what's going on here.
Suppose with all this, I'll highlight every single one of them joints by saying like Control A or, using that tool there. And then I'll press Alt and like use my little mouse click to the left or the right or the little arrows. And that'll move every single one of them. No, so if you press Alt and then arrow to the right, it'll just move it right over. Boom.
Oh, it'll nudge everything over.
Yeah.
Off, like, without going on the snap.
Exactly.
So it also does that. I've never done that.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
I like doing it like that, because for me, that's like a quick way to feel it out as you're playing it back. And I'll do that with vocals sometimes. I'll do that with percussions. Yep. So if I want to make something like, instead of like messing with the swing, I'll just send certain elements into that more like off-grid feel. So like a hat or like a snare. Yeah. Just to,
give make it that real human feel.
Yeah, make it like sync up a little differently. So I thought that was like a really cool way of like reverse quantizing. Yep. That's You're getting the pocket to feel a different way.
Like I said, I always say this. This is like probably my number one like quoted thing. There's a million ways to do the same thing.
Facts.
Like I've never done that specific thing where I've done them individually where I'll hold the alt key, click and drag one individual note one by one. But then I've never done like the highlight all and held the alt key. I didn't even know it really worked like that on like everything as a whole to disengage the snap. Yeah. But there's another way I do it sometimes, and this is if I want like a blanket, like straight across like the entire beat, is I'll go to, all right, so say we got that hi-hat pattern. It's like perfectly quantized, right? It's like straight on the grid. Yep. I'll go to the wrench, and then I'll go to time, and then I'll shift. I'll throw this like shift knob up a little bit, and And then depending on how harsh you want it, but like I said, it blankets across the entire song. So no matter where that hi-hat pattern goes on any pattern, any clip, anything, it's going to do that same thing, but it's going to do it evenly. It's not like randomizing it or anything like that. It's just knocking it off the grid. Hear that little like flam action going on now?
Yeah, that's...
So now it's like, it's pretty much like knocked off the grid.
That's wild. It almost sounds like it's messing with the velocity.
I think what you're hearing is the difference between the metronome and the hi-hat. But if you want to like randomize the velocity too, a lot of times in piano roll, I'll go Alt-R and then I'll turn the pattern off. So then I'll just mess with the levels and then randomize the velocity.
There you
and
go.
You can see the levels going up or down. So you can randomize that. You can randomize the panning if you wanted to, especially with hi-hats. That might be a cool thing to do where slight panning left and right.
I love that.
You can mess with the release, mod X, mod Y, pitch. But normally if I'm randomizing things like that, I'll just do velocity, panning, move on. Because right now, with that hi-hat pattern, you just went from a straight, just like two-step on the grid to something that feels a little bit more loose. And, you know, you don't really have to do much.
Do you make a lot of beats with the swing feature up there?
Honestly, like nowadays, I haven't, bro. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Because I feel like once you do that, you're kind of stuck there with it. So like if I want the swing, a lot of times I'll go into the piano roll and do like a third grid. Sometimes I'll mess with the swing knob, but I don't know.
I did one recently where I like automated it on and off. Just because I had like a sample.
I've never done that.
Yeah. It was cool because like the first half of the song or the first half of the beat really was like this it was like this funk inspired thing where I had like a trap, like a Memphis rap vocal going over like some keys and it sounded crazy. And it was more like trap style. But then I was like, what if I took this style and just flipped it into like some boom bap? And it sounded too rigid with the trap drums, so I just like put the swing on, and then when I put the hip hop boom bap samples with the swing,
that's pretty
and
cool.
Automated the whole thing together. And what was cool was it made this like weird at the spot where it split into the two different styles. There was like this weird throw effect between the two. Like it ends and then it goes into like the hip hop style, and like the throw was just like crazy. I was like, this is
mentioned
nuts.
Throws in it, and it makes me think of like reverb and delay throws. I love that kind of stuff. That's something that I haven't really touched on. I think it might be cool to do something like that right now. Yeah. Just to show like
show people how to do like a reverb throw real quick.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll just throw like a random sample in.
I used a reverb throw for the very last part of this project that I just put out. I had an Action Bronson sample at the end, and he just had like this one line at the end, and I just automated the reverb up off of the tail to kind of like send them off into the ether and end the project. Stuff, it's that like this is a great way to like boost the production on the like your song completely.
Yep. So say we got
these little tricks.
Say we got this sample. I mean, a lot of times I'm doing this on vocals. I love doing the reverb throws on vocals because I think we've talked about it before where you got a vocal, you got that reverb, but you don't want it to be like harsh and heavy throughout the whole thing. Yeah. So sometimes you want like to just fill in some gaps with the reverb, and those you could do that with reverb throws. Essentially, it's just like automating the reverb up and down throughout whatever that is. So make sure it's in a track. Obviously, I'll throw a reverb directly on here, but you could do it with sends and whatnot. Set your reverb however you like it. That you can automate any knob you want. So if you want to just automate and just throw the wet knob, you could do that, or you could do it as a whole. So a lot of times what I'll do is maybe automate the decay and the wet. So let's say, throughout that whole thing, we have this reverb on here, and this is our setting, but we want it to just kind of blow out at a certain point. You probably turn that decay up. But then you'd also want the wet to go up. So sometimes you can automate the wet and the decay and then throw both of those up. Throw both of those in there. And then towards the end, let's say we have, I don't know, let's just give it some space so we can hear it. And then right at the end, you make sure you want to keep these points. So copy that value, and then wherever you want that to start throwing up, maybe right there, right click, paste the value in, and then go up, copy this value as well, put it right here so we don't lose that value. So that way it stays the same throughout, and then throw it.
There you go.
And then you could also, since we already have this one, copy this one again. And then wherever you want it to come back down, say you want it to come back down over here, paste it. Then you can kind of shape it however you'd like it. Same thing here. Copy that value again, paste it there. Have that come back down. And it'll come right back down to the normal setting that you had on the reverb or whatever. And you could do that with anything. It's not just reverb. It's just most commonly done with reverbs and delays. And most commonly done probably on vocals. But I mean, you could do it with anything. You can do it with any effect, on any kind of sample, a vocal, instrument, whatever. A lot of, when I was in the band, we did it on guitars a lot. And you would just like, or like snare drums.
Gotcha.
You would have just like a crazy, just one hit that would just go, I don't know, it would just sound like
bonkers.
a cannon. You know what I'm saying? And then it would just come right back down.
Right.
Just for like maybe a certain part of the song where it just, I don't know, called for it. Maybe.
Exactly.
You know,
it builds like dynamic and character within the song. Another thing that like, when you're, suppose if you were doing an automation on the entire, it'll work with this as well, because these are both basic like principles of your delay or your reverb rather. But if you just had it across like the entire effect, another way is like pulling that reverb completely out on a drop to like make it super dry,
Thin.
and then when it comes back in, or whenever the entire instrument panel comes back in, because sometimes you cut all the instruments out, and if you have something with reverb on it, if you don't cut that reverb out, it doesn't have the same like impact. So if you make it totally dry for that sequence where like everything else is dropped out, it's just like all you off the cliff. You know what I'm saying? You fell off the waterfall real quick.
Yeah, man.
It's awesome.
That's a big thing to
automation
do. Automation
gems for real. Yeah.
Especially if you're doing like, I mean, any genre, but specifically like EDM stuff. If you're doing any electronic stuff, automation and throws and pulling back on effects, like that's a huge thing in that genre, man. Because especially with something that has like these big drops where you want the song to sound loud the whole way through, right? But you want the drop to feel louder, to hit harder. And that's something that I always used to struggle with, is like, how do I get this drop to hit harder? You know? And a lot of times it's like pulling things back, or even like EQing the master and thinning it out, and like almost like low passing or high passing the entire master of the beat right before that drop hits, or like kind of thinning it out gradually. And then right when that drop hits, it just gives the listener the idea of that just hitting harder. It just feels and sounds like it's hitting harder, when in reality, all you did was just pull back on things. Yeah. I would always think you'd have to add stuff to it. Like, oh, I got to add more to the drop, or I got to add more to the downbeat of the drop. When in reality, you just take more away from the buildup.
Taking stuff away, like subtracting, minimizing things from whatever's going on is like kind of like that's like some sensei level EQ technique. Yeah. Where they'll be like, if you want to make something louder, make something quieter. Yeah, no, it's true. Because you only have so much room in a mix. Yeah, you know? You only have so much room. There's only so much you can do. And electronic music is like, they're the best at that.
And not only that, but it's just like you're at zero almost the whole time. You know what I mean? Like you want that to be loud the whole way through. Right. That's just the thing in electronic music, is to just brick wall it. You know. Then you're really limited for space.
This producer Rez, I was just listening to her. I've been a fan of hers for a long time, but I was listening to her stuff recently. She has this song called Chemical Bond with Death Pact. And the way that her stuff is mixed is incredible. Like the kicks are up there, and it's incredible. It's like the loudest shit. It's incredible. So I don't know. I was just like, I just had to give my kudos to Rez real quick, because I feel like when it comes down to the mixing techniques, them EDM producers,
they're
man,
top notch.
They're wild.
Because that's a big part of the music, is like how clean the mix can hit because there's so many elements. I feel like EDM producers are some of the best like mixers around.
Hell yeah.
As far as instrumentation goes, even vocal wise. But I feel like there's so many instruments going on at one time, and there's very little space. Like I just said, there's very little space to mess with, and they just get everything to fit so well. You got to be a good mix engineer if you want to be an EDM producer. You just have to be. You have to be. Because you can have all the elements there, and it's just not hitting right. And you think you have to like take away instruments or drop out instruments, when in reality it's a mixing thing. It's a mixing. It's a lot different in the sense of some trap stuff, some hip hop stuff, even like R&B stuff, because you hear the producers that we've had on and we've talked about it a lot. It's like sound selection, and I'm not doing anything to the mix. I'm just leveling and going, you know? So in that sense, EDM's totally different.
You're right.
Because they are doing a lot.
They're doing the most.
Yeah, they have to. You have to, though.
They're doing the most.
Yeah. You ever see like an EDM session? It looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just like a city of audio clips and MIDI. It's wild, bro.
One thing I wanted to shine light on with the automation is like, so if you reset both or one of these clips, it's fine, like whichever one you want to do.
Yep.
So it's just like a flat line going across.
Yep.
And suppose you bring the values all the way up,
like on
to
this
like
one?
Yeah, just like a full scale thing, right?
Yep.
And then actually on one end bring it down.
This end?
Yeah, either one.
Yep.
And then in that middle clip right there, if you right click that,
This thing? Yep.
oh no, right click the one on the end. Sorry.
Yep.
Then you'll have like a pulse or a wave setting or anything like that. So whichever one you want.
Ooh.
And then when you go into the middle there, now the middle of the automation clip, now you can control like the frequency of like the oscillation.
That's fire.
And so like what I'll do sometimes with like a volume automation, for instance, like it'll create this warble effect. And then now, you know, suppose you want it to be less intense of a fluctuation, you can go to either end on the left or the right, and it'll like adjust, you know, what the bottom is, what the top is, like the maximum and minimum volume value is.
Oh, that's fire. Like that?
Yeah, so like now you'll have
fire,
kind of like a warble effect of that reverb on the instrument.
All right, I'm just curious to hear this.
Yeah.
This is on the wet knob. It might be hard to hear because it's like reverb, but
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah, so
that's just reverb.
That's
If
just a little reverb,
If
yeah.
somebody heard that, they would think that it was like a volume automation type of thing. But that's just, I mean, that just so happens to like what we had in there, just randomizing whatever. But that's kind of fire, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
I might start doing that with the reverb, the wet knob. Listen to that.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good little way to like kind of create an effect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's dope.
Yeah, bro. So I just wanted to shine some light on that because that's something that I'll do from time to time too, where like I'll mess with the different like exactly like the wave.
The wave will be more of a
pulse.
triangle.
Yeah.
The pulse is more of a square. Stairs, you can have it gradually going up or down.
Mm-hmm.
A single curve.
I think that's just gonna give.
That's
it
what
like
it's normally at. Single curve 2. By the way, like, see how this drop down menu just stays open if you right click things instead of left clicking?
Oh,
like
cool.
You can go through and you won't have to keep opening up the menu.
Right.
Half sign.
Stays.
Smooth stairs.
Smooth is nice. I like.
I like that
joints.
pulse, bro. I like the pulse. The wave can be kind of cool too. It's just sharper.
Yeah, that feels more like a side chain to me.
Yeah. That reminds, like, it has that like reverse effect. That reminds me of this thing that I had written down too. I wanted to talk about like how to reverse samples the right way.
Okay.
A lot of like,
this has been a battle you've been having in the comments,
bro. and there's a couple of different ways to do it. I just want to find a sample that doesn't sound reversed already. All right, let's do this one. It doesn't sound like it's reversed. A lot of those sound like reversed already. I'll just go to the same tempo as the sample. I'll go to 160. And then I'm just
That's
going
true. If you want to
to
make something instantly more chill, you just reverse that shit.
Yeah.
It's going to sound
But let's say
chill.
like you already have like let's say you have a chord progression that matches this instantly, right? That matches that. If you reverse this, the chord progression is going to be all off. It's going to be reversed. So let's say I'm just going to make this unique as sample. That way I'm just messing with just this part of the sample, just like this, you know, 8 bar. Two different ways you could do it. I get chirped in the comments when I do it this way, but the way I like to do it is I'll just go to chop and then go to time based, and I think it'll be in bars, and then literally just reverse these clips.
Right.
Just go in the opposite direction, and to make it quick, I'll just do this, and then you can reverse that. So if you wanted to, use that whole chord progression, you would just go in order. Oops.
Right.
Reverse everything. Reverse. One more. Here we go. Boom. And then I'll go back because I undid it, but go to reverse. So now it's the same chord progression as the original sample. Just everything sounds reversed.
Right. And to clarify, so the reason why you're doing that is because when it's all in one sequence and you reverse it, the chords are out of order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're out. Yeah. They're backwards.
Right. So, like, just for an example, can you pull like the original up real quick and then reverse it and try to do it how you would have done it, like without doing that reorganizing?
Yep. So let's cut it the same
I think
way
that's
I had
like
it.
a really good gem.
Yep.
A lot of people that are starting out would.
So I'll mute this, and then let's say, hold on.
I'm gonna reverse this.
Let me make this unique as sample again, and then we reverse that, and you're gonna hear a difference right off the bat. It sounds good, but let say you started making your own chord progression to match, and your own melodies behind that to match everything. Let me try reversing this. You reverse it, and everything sounds out of key.
Right.
That would be a fix for that.
Right. So then that one below it where you rechopped it, that matches the original chord progression. It's the original. Yeah.
So like to show you an example of that, to another example of what you could do is now that these two match, you could say pitch this one up, right? And now these chord progressions match, and we could blend these two together. We're getting, and now this is just an example of the million things that you could do to audio samples.
Facts.
So now I pitched the original
one. I'm
one
an audio
up.
guy.
Yeah. So now I pitched up the original one, right? A higher octave, kept it the same way. Now we have the reversed underneath it, but the chord progressions are going to match because we reversed the order of those chords when we reversed the sample.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. And then, that's why we preach audio clips, because there's a million things that you can do to audio.
Facts.
But when you're reversing, that's something that early on I ran into that issue where I'm like, why can't I get this chord progression to match up? Why isn't this sounding right? And, common sense nowadays, in hindsight, I'm like, let's reverse it. You made everything backwards.
Got to flip it and reverse it.
Yep. You know how long it took me to realize what in that song? When she says, I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. And then that vocal reversed. Yeah. I don't know if anybody else knows what I'm talking about now, but if we might get like a copyright strike if I play it. But let me see.
You just got to play it reversed.
Yeah, right.
This whole segment's going to be reversed.
Hold on. What's the name of the song? Missy.
Flip it, reverse it.
Work it. It's work it. Yep. Like cut the audio out of this, or just like play a very little bit.
Shouts out Timberland, man. Holy shit.
I want to know whose idea that was. I would love to interview them just to hear whose idea that was to do that.
Right.
Like, I did hear one. I saw one interview with Timberland saying how when he was working with Missy, she would not like him to be him. So picture like Timberland, right? She would not want him to be in the same room when she was like writing and recording and going through stuff. She would just do it, and then he would come in and be like, "Yo, this is fire."
Okay.
And I think he said like one time he was like, "Yo, this ain't it. Let's try redoing it." But more times than not, like 9 times out of 10, she would do it completely by herself, and then he would listen to it afterward. He wouldn't be in on those sessions like he was with pretty much everybody else. with the big, with the big dogs, the big names. He would be in the room. Justin Timberlake's, the Nelly Furtado's, all the people that he would be in the studio with working on stuff. But yeah, I want to just get to that. Here it is. That's her literally saying, I put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it. But just in that one audio clip, reversed. And I don't know why it was so mind-blowing to me when I figured that out. I was like, yo.
You're like, she really did.
She really did. Put it down, she flipped it, and reversed it. Oh, my God. Like
she really did that.
Reversed. I bet you there's somebody like breaking it down backward.
Oh, my God. That is hilarious.
Listen up close while I take it backwards. So if I play... So that part, they did the same thing with that part too.
Yeah.
In the chorus. Crazy. Like when you reverse it, you can just hear it. Put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it. It's just like so simple, but that's like the most iconic part of that song, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like and everybody hears that.
When you hear it in the club, like people will just be like singing that shit like it's words,
like it's word. I mean, it is, but
they just be in the club doing that.
Yeah, you know how many times I was like, "It's worth yet."
No, funny. So here's your reverse gems. Your
yep.
How do you say gems back? We got to gems smash.
Reverse it.
Yeah,
we'll do it in post production.
Post, you got to reverse that one. Here's some reverse gems for you this week.
Matt, you know what? Why not? We'll do the keyword right now. Today's keyword is reverse. Or reversed.
Or you gotta reverse.
But when you type it, you gotta have to type it in reverse.
If they there you go. That might be it.
So today's keyword is reverse, but you have to type it in reverse. If you don't type it in reverse, you're not entered into the giveaway. Rules is rules.
Rules is rules.
Make them up as we go.
Yeah.
There was another cool. Let me see. There was a gem that I wanted to talk about. Or there was some that you had written down too.
Yeah.
And maybe this was a good one. There was and I don't even know like if anybody would utilize this, but it was just something that I thought was so cool when I figured this out. So say we got some drums. You could see that when this is previewed, it's going straight to the master, right? Did you know that you could change what track these are previewed in the mixer?
Oh, shit.
So if you wanted to add an effect onto it, you could. So let's say you had a certain mixer track that you wanted. Now, bear with me because I have to find it again. But I think it's in File General. Bear with me. I know it's in here somewhere.
We just found out we have sound effects.
Now watch me not be able to find it.
There was one that was like a loading sound. I can't remember.
Oh, I found it. The loading sound?
There was. No. Yeah, we found it. There we go.
Yeah, we found it. Oh, we got some good sound effects in here. How about like, all right, this one. If you can't find something, it's like. I want to put the Jeopardy song in there. Yeah, can we do that, Merc? Can we put the Jeopardy
we can find that.
We can load whatever we want in there, right?
Oh, yeah.
And are you limited to those 8, or can you like flip through pages? You can flip through pages? That's fire too. We got to load that thing up.
Yeah.
I got to put the Stone Cold what back in there.
Yeah.
We got to do that.
Yeah.
Then we're 31 minutes in already?
Went to the refrigerator.
Wow.
Went into the liquor store.
What? All right, so people will get sick of this podcast real quick if I get a hold of this thing. Yeah. So all right. So it's in settings, in audio settings, and you go down to the bottom here where it says mixer. You can change the resampling quality, and then browser preview track. So you could put
Oh,
you could put that in any
There you
track that
go.
you want. Let's say if you wanted to like preview, I don't know who's doing this or why, but like say if you wanted to throw an effect on there, you could throw a reverb. Let's say we wanted to hear things with a reverb effect. So now you're previewing. Anything that you preview through here is going to be going through whatever track that you choose there. Now the metronome too. This is something really cool because I know that when I was in a band, I wanted to export click tracks and metronomes for my sessions to play live on stage. That's the one thing, the one use I can think for this one, right? Or if you just wanted it to be a different level, this is a good option for it. And you could have this be so it's every single session if you do it this way. So let's say we want the metronome to always play on track 2, and then we have also have a template where track number 2 is just turned down. So whenever you play that metronome, it's just going to be you can control the volume of your metronome now. Whereas when you throw that metronome on, no matter what, have you ever had that issue where the way you gain stage your beat was just like everything was super low, and then you need that click track, you need the metronome in there, you go to turn it on and it's like blows your eardrums out.
Yeah, it's mad loud.
That's a fix for that.
Right.
So that's one use.
There you
The other use is like you can literally hit record and export the click track. So if you're like me and you need a click track for live performances, that's a really good way to do that. We talked about that where you just highlight the arm the record button, Alt-R it,
boom,
and it'll play that out.
Send it.
Yeah, send it. So that's something really cool for that. But just make sure if you don't like it too much, or if you get, you always have to go back here and change this, because once you change that, it's just going to stay like that forever, no matter which session you open up. So it'll always be that way. You go to do that, and then you go into an old session, and then you hit the metronome or whatever, and it's coming through track number 2, and it has all these different effects on it. You export it by accident, that sort of thing. So reset it.
Can you right click that to reset it or anything like that?
No, right clicking actually made it to go to number 1.
Oh, okay.
Or no, I probably just scrolled up on it a little bit. But yeah. What's this? Play. What's that word?
Truncated.
Truncated notes on transport. I don't know what truncated means. Bro.
Play truncated notes.
You know what that means, Merc? Truncated. The word truncated. Yeah. That's when you cut the beginning or an end of a sample. Okay, I never knew that had a term. Really? So.
Like the old school MPCs.
Yeah.
That's how you truncate a sample, is by cutting like the excess stuff.
Yep.
After.
Oh, damn. Okay. Gotcha. You learned something new today. Didn't know that word.
I thought that was like the notes that an elephant would play.
So you can turn this. This is always on. Play truncated notes on transport, and then you can reset plugins on transport. I don't know why you'd want to do that. Reset.
That's like a word problem.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what.
Did I just turned that on by accident? Get that out of here. But yeah, that's some cool stuff.
I had a quick little like an idea about like additive versus subtractive EQing.
Yep.
Because like there are different schools of thought on like what to use, and I think like when you first start learning how to do EQing on things, I immediately went to, I didn't even realize it, but it was like additive EQing. So you're adding like frequencies to make certain stuff louder.
Yeah.
And then once you develop and learn some more, you learn about subtractive EQing, where if you want something to stand out, you make other frequencies duck back, so that way it makes more room in the soundscape for that element that you want to be louder.
Yeah.
My thing is using both in tandem. So if there are like qualities in the vocal performance or in the microphone that you capture the vocal with that you want to take out, you can scoop out, say, like certain low frequencies that are irrelevant for your vocals, but you can still make the sibilances crackle a certain way with additive subtracting, additive EQing.
Now, would you do that with the same EQ, or would you throw like another EQ? So are you doing subtractive with one, additive with another one, or are you doing it all within the same EQ?
It depends. Usually, like, I'll have a mixture of both in one EQ. But then there's also, you can stack your parametrics and do it that way.
Yep.
What I will say is like a really important thing to consider with your additive EQing is that like when you're hiking up those frequencies, you're like multiplying the signal. So it's very common for you to like hike up frequencies, and then all of a sudden there's a lot of artifacts in there that you don't necessarily want. So you want to measure, or like, you know, be cognizant of like that bell and how narrow the frequency band is that you're manipulating. And also, one thing I found for like controlling that sort of feeling is putting the additive EQ before a compressor.
Okay.
Because it'll kind of control the signal a little way that it's not like hiking it up and it's uncompressed and like jarring to the ear. Yeah. So I was just curious as to like, do you mostly do additive?
I'm mostly doing subtractive.
Subtractive EQing?
I very rarely will do additive. It's rare that I would. It might be, if I do, it's on the very, very highs, and I just want to like brighten something up. I did just watch one of the latest episodes or clips of the Help Me Devon podcast, Audio Nerds.
Yeah.
And they had
shouts out.
Yeah, shout out. Big gems on that podcast, and good friends of mine too. They had somebody on recently, and they were talking about this specific thing, additive and subtractive EQ. And a big engineer was saying, he said, I don't do any additive EQing. If I want to, like, I don't quote me, but I believe he said something along the lines of, if I want to add something to a vocal or something like that, he'll use saturation instead.
Okay.
But 99 times out of 100, he's doing subtractive just to get rid of things,
right,
and not really add much,
right?
Because I mean, and at the same time, like, they're probably using high top-notch quality gear where they're already doing some things before it even gets to them.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, Merc, do you find yourself not doing that much additive EQ, and you do more subtractive than anything?
I do a little of both.
You do a little of both?
I do mostly subtracting on the shitty frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And then I use the analog EQs.
Okay. So you're using analog EQs.
To add for additive.
Gotcha. For additive.
Or
Spectre.
Spectre.
Yep.
Because it's adding harmonics.
Yep.
That I want to boost.
I think Spectre is one of those things that Frank Pohl remade too, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think
he's remade so
everything,
many.
bro.
I was literally thinking of him today because I was wondering like what the profile of like the soft clipper is.
Yeah.
And I was like, if anybody knows, I got to DM Frank Pohl and find out what he thinks.
I feel like we bring him up almost every episode, and we talked about it before too with him.
He's got to come back, yo.
He's got to come back on.
He's got to.
Because I feel like there's just too much to talk about, and everybody loved his episode, and I think there was so many gems dropped in that one, and we definitely need a Frank Pohl part 2. So if you guys want a Frank Pohl part 2, he doesn't even know we're talking about this, but if you want a Frank Pohl part 2, let us know in the comments.
Let us know.
But I think it's time to wrap it up. We did the keyword.
Yep.
Like I said before, today, unfortunately, we have to pin the winners in the comments because we're filming before the episode drops, so we can't go through the comments of the last episode as of right now.
We're just too advanced.
We're too ahead of schedule. But yeah, this one flew by, yo. 40 minutes.
Facts.
Again, thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe, and as always, make sure to share this with a friend if you get me.